The story of the legend of Zelda. Majora's Mask is the direct, harrowing sequel to the child timeline of Ocarina of Time. It is a psychological exploration of grief, terminality, and the search for identity in a world that is literally falling apart. While Ocarina of Time was a grand epic about saving a kingdom, Majora's Mask is an intimate, surreal fever dream about saving the soul. Part 1 begins with the hero of time, now a child again, wandering the shrouded depths of the lost woods on his faithful horse, Epona. Link is not searching for a monster or a treasure. He is searching for Navi, the fairy who abandoned him the moment his previous quest ended. This search is a manifestation of Link's lingering regrets. He is a hero without a war, a veteran in a child's body, looking for the only witness to his previous existence. As Link pushes deeper into the misty thicket, he is ambushed by a mischievous, masked imp known as the Skull Kid, accompanied by two sibling fairies, Tattle and Tail. The Skull Kid is wearing a strange, vibrant mask with glowing yellow eyes, the Majora's Mask. This ancient artifact is not merely an accessory but a sentient, parasitic entity of apocalyptic power. With a flick of his wrist, the Skull Kid steals Link's ocarina and Epona, leading the boy on a frantic chase into a hollow tree that serves as a gateway between worlds. Link falls into a dark abyss, a literal and metaphorical rabbit hole that strips him of his humanity. Using the mask's dark magic, the Skull Kid transforms Link into a Deku Scrub, a weak, wooden creature that reflects Link's feelings of helplessness and insignificance. The transition from Hyrule to the parallel world of Termina is marked by a profound sense of disorientation. Termina is a mirror world, filled with faces Link recognizes from Hyrule, but they are different people with different lives and different tragedies. The center of this world is Clock Town, a bustling hub preparing for the annual Carnival of Time. However, the sky above the town reveals the ultimate stakes of this new nightmare. The moon has been pulled from its orbit by the Skull Kid. It hangs low over the horizon, a monstrous face twisted in a perpetual, sobbing grimace of rage. Link learns from Tail that he has exactly 72 hours before the moon crashes into the earth, incinerating every living thing in Termina. The theme of the lore is established here, the relentless, uncaring march of time. Inside the base of the clock tower, Link encounters the Happy Mask Salesman, a mysterious and unsettling figure who seems to exist outside the normal flow of reality. He reveals that the mask the Skull Kid wears is a prehistoric relic used by an ancient tribe in their hexing rituals. The mask was so dangerous that the tribe sealed it in darkness, fearing it would consume the world. The salesman was the one who recovered it, only to have it stolen by the Skull Kid. He makes a deal with Link. If Link can recover the ocarina and the mask within 3 days, he will return Link to his human form. The salesman's desperation and his sudden mood swings suggest that even he is terrified of the power he has unleashed. He gives Link a parting piece of advice that defines the mechanics of the world: believe in your strengths. The first 3 days in Clock Town are a tutorial in despair. As a Deku Scrub, Link is ignored or mocked by the townspeople. He watches as the clock at the bottom of the screen ticks away the minutes of his life. He witnesses the various subplots of the citizens: the panic of the soldiers, the denial of the mayor, and the quiet heartbreak of Unju, the innkeeper waiting for her missing fiancé. These 72 hours are a microcosm of the stages of grief. The people of Termina are moving through denial, anger, bargaining, and depression as the moon grows larger in the sky. Link, trapped in his wooden body, can do nothing but wait for the final hour. On the eve of the 3rd day, the clock tower opens, allowing Link to ascend to the roof to confront the Skull Kid. The atmosphere is apocalyptic. The ground shakes, the wind howls, and the moon is so close that its heat can be felt. Link cannot defeat the Skull Kid in his current form, but he manages to use a bubble blast to force the imp to drop the Ocarina of Time. The moment Link touches the instrument, memories of Princess Zelda flood back to him. He remembers the Song of Time, the melody that allows him to command the flow of years. With seconds remaining before the moon hits, Link plays the song. The world collapses into a swirl of blue light, and Link is thrown back to the dawn of the first day, exactly 72 hours before the end. This time loop is the core of the Majora's Mask lore. It represents the eternal return, where Link is forced to relive the same 3 days over and over again. Every time he resets the clock, he loses the friendships he made and the progress he had on the ground, but he retains his items and his memories. This creates a psychological burden on the hero. He is the only one who knows the world is ending. He becomes a secret savior, working in the shadows of a doomed timeline. The happy mask salesman fulfills his end of the bargain, teaching Link the Song of Healing. This melody soothes the troubled spirit within Link, drawing the Deku curse out of his body and turning it into the Deku mask. Link is human again, but he now carries the soul of a dead Deku butler's son in the palm of his hand. The lore of the masks is introduced here as a form of spirit channeling. In Termina, masks are not just costumes. They are the vessels for the memories and regrets of the deceased. To save Termina, Link must travel to the 4 cardinal directions: swamp, mountain, ocean, and canyon, to awaken the 4 giants, the ancient protectors of the land who were sealed away by the Skull Kid. Each region is suffering from a specific environmental and spiritual plague caused by the mask's influence. Link's journey is a quest to heal these broken lands, using the masks of those who died trying to save them. He is no longer just Link. He is a vessel for the fallen heroes of Termina. Part 1 concludes with Link standing at the gates of Clocktown at the dawn of a new first day. He has his ocarina, he has his human form, and he has a fairy companion in Tattle, who has stayed with him to find her brother. But the moon is still there, and the clock has started ticking again. The journey to the southern swamp awaits, where the poison of the mask has turned the water to acid and the king's palace into a den of paranoia. Link looks up at the monstrous face in the sky and realizes that saving this world will require him to die 1,000 deaths and live 1,000 lives. The tragedy of Termina has just begun, and the hero of time is the only one who can hear the heartbeat of the dying world. The journey into the southern swamp represents the first stage of Termina's environmental and social decay. As Link leaves the relative safety of Clocktown and travels south, the air grows thick with the scent of rot and stagnant water. The swamp, once a vibrant ecosystem protected by the forest spirits, has been turned into a toxic wasteland by the Skull Kid's influence. The water itself has become a virulent purple acid, lethal to any who touch it, effectively imprisoning the Deku Kingdom within their own palace. This region's lore centers on the concept of paranoia and the breakdown of justice. The Deku King, driven to madness by the disappearance of his daughter, Princess Lulu, and the corruption of the swamp, has blamed an innocent monkey for the kidnapping. When Link arrives, the kingdom is preparing to execute the monkey in a ceremonial vat of boiling water, a grim reflection of how fear can turn a community against the vulnerable. The psychological weight of this chapter is anchored in the Deku mask and the tragic origin of the spirit trapped within it. It is heavily implied through environmental storytelling that the mask of the Deku was formed from the soul of the Deku butler's son, whom Link encountered as a withered, twisted tree at the very beginning of the game. The butler's son had tried to flee the forest to escape the growing darkness, only to be intercepted by the Skull Kid and drained of his life force to facilitate Link's transformation. When Link wears the mask, he is inhabiting the body and memories of a murdered child. This is a recurring theme in Majora's Mask. Link's power comes from the grief of others. He is a sin eater, absorbing the tragedies of Termina so that he can use the dead's abilities to save the living. To reach the Woodfall Temple, Link must navigate the upper canopies of the swamp, using his Deku form to hop across the toxic lily pads and fly between the carnivorous snappers. The temple itself is a submerged ziggurat, a site of ancient worship that has been repurposed by the mask's magic into a factory of poison. Inside, the architecture is a mix of tribal woodwork and mechanical gears, dripping with sludge. The boss of the temple, Odalwa, is a gargantuan, masked tribal warrior who dances and chants in a forgotten tongue. Odalwa represents the wild spirit of the swamp that has been corrupted into a mindless killing machine. Upon his defeat, the toxic clouds over the swamp dissipate, and the water returns to its natural clarity. More importantly, Link frees the first of the 4 giants, the Sage of the South. The awakening of the first giant provides a crucial piece of Termina's creation myth. Ancient legends tell of 4 giants who were the childhood friends of the Skull Kid. When the giants decided to depart to the 4 cardinal directions to protect the world, the Skull Kid felt abandoned and betrayed. His loneliness and grief made him the perfect host for the Majora's Mask, which amplified his feelings of resentment into a desire to destroy the world that the giants loved. When Link speaks to the giant in the void after the battle, the Colossus utters a single, cryptic command, "Call us." This reveals Link's ultimate goal. He must gather all 4 giants at the moment of the apocalypse so they can catch the falling moon in their hands. After clearing the temple, Link rescues the Deku Princess, who was actually investigating the source of the poison. Her return stops the execution of the monkey and restores order to the Deku Kingdom. However, the victory is bittersweet. In one of the most heart-wrenching moments of the lore, the Deku Butler invites Link to a race through his private grotto. At the end of the race, the butler pauses before the twisted, dead tree that resembles Link's Deku form. He realizes, without saying a word, that this tree is his missing son. The butler kneels in the dirt and weeps, a father mourning a child who can never come home. This moment underscores the reality of the 72-hour cycle. Even though Link has saved the swamp, he has not brought back the dead. The trauma of the world is permanent, even if the timeline is reset. This chapter also introduces the Kum and Kotake of Termina. Unlike their villainous counterparts in Hyrule, the twin sisters of the swamp are simple businesswomen. Kum runs the boat tour, and Kotake runs the potion shop. This highlights the mirror world nature of Termina. People who were icons of evil in one world are mundane, even helpful citizens in this one. It forces Link to abandon his preconceived notions of morality and judge the people of Termina by their actions in this life, not their roles in his past. He helps the sisters by rescuing Kum after she is attacked by the Skull Kid in the Woods of Mystery, earning his first Mask of Gratitude, the pictograph box, which allows him to document the world before it vanishes. As Part 2 concludes, the first of the 4 seals has been broken. The swamp is clean, the giants have begun to stir, and the Deku people have found peace. But the clock is still ticking. As the final hours approach and the screen trembles with the moon's proximity, Link must play the Song of Time and return to the dawn of the first day. The water in the swamp will turn back to acid, the monkey will be back in his cage, and the butler will once again be searching for his son. This is the burden of the hero. Link must bear the memory of his success while the world forgets his deeds. With the swamp behind him, he turns his gaze toward the north, where the Snowhead Mountains are locked in an eternal, unnatural winter that threatens to freeze the hearts of the Goron tribe. The ascent into the Snowhead Mountains introduces the second stage of Termina's collapse, the freezing of the spirit. As Link travels north, the lush greens of the swamp are replaced by a blinding, vertical world of ice and howling winds. The region is gripped by an eternal winter that has lasted far longer than the natural season, a magical blizzard conjured by the Skull Kid to bury the Goron village in snow. The lore of this region centers on the concept of grief and legacy. The Goron tribe, typically known for their strength and stoicism, is in a state of terminal despair. Their patriarch is frozen in a block of ice. Their food supplies are exhausted, and a young Goron child wails in the darkness of the shrine, his cries echoing the collective pain of a people who have lost their protector. The psychological core of this chapter is found in the Goron Mask and the story of Darmani III, the greatest warrior in Goron history. As Link explores the frozen wastes, he encounters the ghost of Darmani, who hovers over his own grave. Darmani died while attempting to reach the Snowhead Temple to stop the blizzard. He was blown off the narrow mountain path by a magical wind and fell to his death, leaving his people leaderless and vulnerable. Unlike the Deku Butler's son, Darmani is conscious of his failure. His spirit is bound to the world by the lingering regret that he died before he could fulfill his duty. He pleads with Link to use magic to bring him back to life, but Link can only offer the Song of Healing. As the melody plays, Darmani's spirit is finally at peace. His memories of battle and his love for his tribe are distilled into the Goron Mask. When Link dons this mask, he undergoes a painful transformation, his body expanding into the form of the fallen hero. By wearing Darmani's face, Link inherits the warrior's physical power, the ability to roll at high speeds and strike with the force of a falling boulder, but he also inherits the weight of a legend. The Gorons see Link and believe their hero has returned from the dead. Link is forced to play the role of a ghost, providing hope to a tribe that is being sustained by a lie. This reinforces the hero's burden. In Termina, Link doesn't just save people. He replaces those they have lost. To reach the Snowhead Temple, Link must use his new form to bridge massive gaps and navigate the Goron Labyrinth, a series of pressure plates and high-speed ramps. At the summit, he encounters the Bigoron, a giant who has been put into a trance by the mask's power, blowing a freezing gale that prevents anyone from approaching the temple. Link must play the Goron Lullaby, a song taught to him by the Goron Elder and the Crying Child, to soothe the giant and clear the path. The temple itself is a vertical tower of ice and stone, designed around a central pillar that Link must systematically dismantle to reach the highest floors. It is a place of mechanical cold, where the very air is an enemy. The boss of the temple, Goat, is a mechanical, bull-like beast that is encased in a block of ice until Link thaws it. The battle is a high-speed chase around a circular track, with Link in Goron form rolling behind the creature to strike its legs. Goat represents the unstoppable force of the winter, a mindless, grinding machine that will not stop until the world is frozen solid. Upon Goat's destruction, the blizzard instantly vanishes, and spring returns to the mountains in a sudden, jarring burst of life. The second giant is awakened, adding his strength to the call that will eventually stop the moon. The aftermath of the Snowhead Temple provides a rare moment of warmth in the cold lore of Termina. The Goron village celebrates the return of Darmani, and for a brief window, the child stops crying and the elder is freed from his icy prison. However, the tragedy remains beneath the surface. Link knows that the real Darmani is dead, and that his spirit is now just a wooden mask in a traveler's bag. Furthermore, as the clock continues to tick toward the 72-hour mark, Link realizes that he must soon reset time. When he plays the Song of Time, the spring will vanish, the blizzard will return, and the Goron hero will once again be a ghost forgotten in the snow. Part 3 concludes with Link standing atop the peaks of Snowhead, looking out over the world. 2 giants have been called, and 2 masks of fallen heroes have been claimed. The mountain is quiet, but the moon in the sky has grown even larger, its weeping eyes now visible to the naked eye from the village below. Link has mastered the swamp and the mountain, but the ocean is calling, a place where the water holds the memories of a singer who lost her voice and a hero who lost his life in the waves. The hero of time turns toward the west, toward Great Bay, where the third mask waits in the surf. The descent toward Great Bay marks the third stage of Termina's collapse, the stagnation of the creative spirit and the death of the voice. As Link crosses the western fences and reaches the coast, he finds an ocean that is unnaturally murky and warm, a phenomenon the locals call the cloudy water. This environmental shift is caused by the corruption of the Great Bay Temple, an ancient, mechanical water filtration plant located deep beneath the waves. The lore of this region centers on the concept of sacrifice and identity. The Zora people, usually a race of graceful musicians and warriors, are in a state of mourning and creative paralysis. Their lead singer, Lulu, has lost her voice and her eggs, the future of her kind, to a band of Gerudo pirates who have taken advantage of the chaos to raid the coast. The psychological core of this chapter is found in the Zora mask and the tragic final moments of Mikau, the guitarist of the Zora band, the Indigogos. As Link swims through the surf, he finds Mikau floating nearly lifeless in the water, his body riddled with wounds from a failed attempt to infiltrate the pirates' fortress and reclaim Lulu's eggs. In a heartbreaking sequence, Mikau uses the last of his strength to pull himself onto the shore and perform one final song on his guitar, a plea for someone to save the Zora people and care for the woman he loves. Unlike Darmani, who was a legend of the distant past, Mikau is a hero whose death happens in real time, before Link's eyes. When Link plays the Song of Healing, Mikau is not justiced. He is effectively erased from the living world, leaving behind the Zora mask. When Link dons the Zora mask, he transforms into Mikau. This transformation is arguably the most jarring of the three, as Link must literally step into the shoes of a man who is a boyfriend, a bandmate, and a local celebrity. The Zoras do not realize Mikau has died. They see Link and expect him to attend band practice and comfort Lulu. Link is forced to inhabit a life that is not his own, navigating the complex social dynamics of the Zora Hall. He must use Mikau's fins as dual boomerangs and his ability to generate a bioelectric field to survive the depths. The lore here explores the imposter syndrome of the hero. Link is saving the world by pretending to be people who have already failed. He is the ghost in the machine, a silent actor playing the part of a fallen rock star to keep a glimmer of hope alive in the Great Bay. To reclaim the eggs, Link must infiltrate the pirates' fortress, a sprawling industrial complex guarded by Gerudo warriors. This sequence highlights the mirror world aspect of Termina again. These Gerudo are not servants of a dark god like in Hyrule, but a self-sufficient, cold-hearted mercenary group. After retrieving the eggs and hatching them in the Marine Research Lab, the newborn Zoras arrange themselves to teach Link the new wave bossa nova. When Link plays this melody as Mikau, the song restores Lulu's voice and summons a giant sea turtle, which carries him through a massive cyclone to the Great Bay Temple. The temple itself is a marvel of ancient technology, a labyrinth of pipes, water wheels, and industrial pumps. It is a world of mechanical precision where the flow of water is the primary puzzle. The architecture suggests that the ancient people of Termina were masters of hydraulics, using the temple to regulate the ocean's temperature and purity. The boss of the temple, Jorg, is a gargantuan, armored carnivorous fish that represents the primal hunger of the sea. The battle is a terrifying struggle between the surface and the depths, requiring Link to switch between his human and Zora forms to survive the beast's lunges. Upon Jorg's defeat, the ocean's temperature stabilizes, and the third giant is awakened, his voice joining the growing chorus of the Guardians. The aftermath of the Great Bay Temple is one of the most poignant moments in the series. The Indigogos perform their concert, and the music returns to the coast. For a few hours, the Zoras are happy, believing their friend Mikau has returned and saved the day. But Link knows that the eggs he rescued will grow up without a father, and that Lulu is in love with a mask in his inventory. As the 72-hour clock enters its final countdown and the moon begins to burn in the atmosphere, Link must once again play the Song of Time. The concert will be forgotten. Lulu's eggs will be back in the pirates' hands, and Mikau will be back in the water, dying alone on the sand. Part 4 concludes with Link standing on the edge of the Zora Cape, the salt spray on his face. 3 giants have been called, and 3 masks of fallen heroes have been claimed. He has mastered the swamp, the mountain, and the ocean, but the final direction, the east, holds a darkness that even the moon's fire cannot touch. He must travel to Akana Canyon, a land of the dead where the blood of an ancient war still stains the soil, and the king of a fallen empire waits in the shadows of a stone tower that defies the gods themselves. The hero of time turns toward the shadows, knowing that in Akana, he will not find a hero to replace, but a history that refuses to stay buried. The narrative arc of the Great Bay serves as a bridge between the physical decay of the world and the spiritual decay of the soul. It prepares Link for the final trial by showing him that even the most beautiful music can be silenced by the march of time. The Zora mask is a reminder that some wounds cannot be healed by victory alone, and that the hero of time is often just a witness to tragedies he arrived too late to prevent. With the ocean quieted, the stage is set for the final act in the Valley of Ghosts, where the secrets of the Majora's Mask and the true origin of the moon will finally be revealed. The journey into Akana Canyon represents the final and most harrowing stage of Termina's collapse, the refusal of the spirit to depart and the rot of an unholy history. As Link travels east, the vibrant colors of the world vanish, replaced by a jagged, sun-bleached valley of dust and bone. Akana is not a living community. It is a mass grave. Once the seat of a proud and formidable empire, it was annihilated centuries ago by a bloody, internecine war that left no survivors, only the restless dead. The lore of this region centers on the concepts of nihilism and regret. Unlike the other regions where the Skull Kid caused a new crisis in Ikana, he simply reopened a wound that never healed. He broke the seals on the stone tower, allowing the hatred of the ancient Icanian soldiers to spill back into the world as Stalfos and Garo ninjas, spirits who are still fighting a war they already lost. The psychological atmosphere of Ikana is one of absolute desolation. The only living residents are a researcher and his young daughter, Pamela, who live in a house shaped like a music box. The researcher has been partially transformed into a Gibdo, a mummified undead, by the valley's curse, and Pamela spends her days locking her father in the basement to protect him from the world and the world from him. To help them, Link must use the Song of Healing to extract the curse from the researcher, creating the Gibdo mask. This sequence highlights the personal horror of the canyon. Even the bond between a father and daughter is being consumed by the encroaching shadows. By wearing the masks of the undead, Link is able to communicate with the spirits of the valley, moving through their ranks like a silent reaper. The ascent to the Stone Tower Temple is the most significant lore event in the game's background. Many theorists and scholars of Hyrulean history believe the Stone Tower was built by an ancient tribe, the same tribe that created Majora's Mask, as an act of defiance against the goddesses. The architecture is filled with inverted religious symbols and statues that appear to be mocking the divine. It is a tower built to reach the heavens not in worship, but in assault. To navigate the temple, Link must learn the Elegy of Emptiness from the ghost of the king of Ikana, Igos du Ikana, after defeating him in a duel in the ruins of the castle. This song allows Link to shed his soul into empty husks of his human, Deku, Goron, and Zora forms. These statues are soulless, hollow shells with haunting, wide-eyed stares, a literal manifestation of the emptiness that the canyon represents. The Stone Tower Temple itself is a masterpiece of metaphysical design. Halfway through the exploration, Link must trigger a mechanism that flips the entire temple upside down. The sky becomes the floor, and the abyss becomes the ceiling. This inversion is the ultimate symbolic act of the ancient Icanian tribe. They turned the world on its head to show their contempt for the natural order. Inside this inverted reality, Link faces Twin Mold, a pair of gargantuan desert centipedes. The battle requires Link to use the giant's mask, which causes him to grow to the size of a god to grapple with the beasts in the sand. Upon their defeat, the curse on the canyon is broken, and the fourth and final giant is awakened. The king of Ikana's spirit finally finds peace, acknowledging that while his empire is gone, the true royalty is found in the courage of the living. The lore of the Garo, the ninja spies who haunt the canyon, adds a layer of espionage to the tragedy. These spirits are bound by a code of honor that demands they leave no trace of their existence. When Link defeats a Garo in combat, the spirit detonates itself, leaving only a few cryptic words of advice. They are the empty shadows of Ikana, soldiers who are so devoted to their mission that they have forgotten why they were fighting in the first place. By clearing the temple, Link effectively fires these soldiers, allowing the ghosts of Ikana to finally lay down their weapons and vanish into the ether. The canyon remains a desert, but for the first time in centuries, the wind that blows through the ruins is silent rather than a chorus of screams. However, the completion of the 4 temples brings the ultimate realization. The Skull Kid was never the true enemy. As the final hours of the 3rd day approach, Link returns to Clock Town. He stands atop the clock tower and plays the Oath to Order, the Song of the Giants. In a breathtaking cinematic sequence, the 4 colossi arrive from the 4 cardinal directions. They stand at the edges of the town and raise their massive hands, catching the falling moon just as its heat begins to incinerate the world. The impact is halted, and for a brief moment, it appears the world is saved. The Skull Kid falls unconscious, and the fairies Tattle and Tail are reunited. But the Majora's Mask is not finished. Realizing that the Skull Kid is no longer a useful host, the mask discards the imp like a piece of trash. The mask itself speaks, declaring that the Skull Kid was too weak and that it will consume everything on its own. The mask retreats into the moon, and the celestial body begins to glow with a terrifying, sentient energy. The moon isn't just a rock. It is a vessel for the mask's nihilism. To finish the battle, Link must allow himself to be pulled into the moon's mouth. He finds himself not in a crater of rock, but in a surreal, beautiful meadow with a single tree in the center. This is the mind of the mask, a peaceful, deceptive landscape inhabited by 5 children wearing the masks of the temple bosses. Part 5 concludes with Link standing in this silent meadow, a place that feels more like a playground than a battlefield. The boss children ask Link deep, unsettling questions about the nature of friendship, the meaning of truth, and whether the face under the mask is the real one. These questions reflect Link's own internal struggle as the hero of time. After wearing so many faces to save so many people, does he still know who he is? The final child, wearing Majora's mask, sits alone under the tree. He invites Link to play a game of cops and robbers, a game where the stakes are the existence of reality itself. The hero of time prepares for the final confrontation, not in a dark dungeon, but in the sunny, haunting meadows of a monster's imagination. The final confrontation within the moon represents the culmination of Link's psychological journey and the ultimate test of the hero of time's identity. The surreal meadow found inside the celestial body is a jarring contrast to the apocalypse occurring outside. It is a world of vibrant green grass and a solitary, majestic tree, bathed in a sun that should not exist. This is the internal landscape of Majora's Mask, a manifestation of the entity's twisted perspective on childhood and play. The 5 children running around the tree wear the masks of the temple bosses, Odalwa, Goat, Jorg, and Twin Mold, representing the toys the mask used to break the world. The lore here suggests that Majora is not just a demon, but a primordial force of chaotic, infantile destruction. It views the annihilation of Termina not as a political conquest, but as a game that has finally come to an end. If Link has spent his journey helping the citizens of Termina and collecting all 24 masks, he can engage in a final act of bargaining with the children. By giving away his masks, the physical manifestations of the memories and gratitude he has gathered, Link is essentially stripping himself of the connections he made in this world. In exchange, the child wearing Majora's mask gives him the ultimate prize, the fierce deity mask. The lore of this mask is among the most debated and terrifying in the Zelda mythos. The happy mask salesman hints that while the other masks contain the spirits of mortals, the fierce deity mask contains the power of a dark god. Some theorists suggest it is the spirit of a forgotten hero of Termina, while others believe it is a reflection of Link's own adult self, forged into a weapon of pure, cold vengeance. When Link dons this mask, he transforms into a towering warrior with silver hair and blank, white eyes, wielding a massive double helix blade that fires bolts of celestial energy. The battle against Majora unfolds in 3 horrific stages, each representing the mask's descent from a sentient artifact into a primal beast. The first stage, Majora's Mask, sees the relic sprouting thin, spindly tentacles and flying through the air, using the boss masks as shields. It attacks with beams of fire and dark energy, moving with an unnatural, jerky grace. The second stage, Majora's Incarnation, is the most disturbing. The mask grows thin, muscular legs and begins to dance manically around the arena. It mimics the sounds of a high-pitched giggle and performs various playful movements like the moonwalk or a ballet pirouette. This is the mask's childhood made manifest, a creature that finds the struggle for survival to be a source of amusement. It is fast, unpredictable, and utterly devoid of the dignity usually associated with a final boss. The third and final stage is Majora's Wrath. The creature transforms into a hulking, muscular demon with long, whip-like tentacles for arms. Its voice drops into a guttural, terrifying roar, and its movements become violent and aggressive. This is the anger stage of Majora, the realization that the game is over and that it is losing. The battle is a chaotic struggle of light versus shadow. If Link uses the fierce deity mask, he becomes a force of nature that Majora cannot withstand, cutting through the demon's whips with the cold efficiency of a god. Upon its defeat, the mask's physical form disintegrates into a pile of ash, and its malevolent spirit is finally extinguished. The game is finished, and the nightmare of the 72-hour cycle is broken at the very last second. As the mask dies, the moon does not crash. It vanishes in a blinding flash of white light, its physical matter transformed into a rainbow that arches over the horizon. The four giants let out a triumphant roar and returned to their slumber in the four corners of the world. Link finds himself back on the grassy plains outside Clock Town, at the dawn of a new day that will finally move forward. The Skull Kid is returned to his original state, a lonely, confused imp who finally realizes that his friends, the giants, never truly forgot him. The giants look down at the Skull Kid one last time before departing, their heavy footsteps shaking the earth as they return to the silence of history. The lore of the giants reveals the theme of forgiveness. The Skull Kid's actions were monstrous, but the giants acknowledge his pain and his loneliness, choosing to heal the bond rather than punish the offender. The happy mask salesman reappears to reclaim the now powerless Majora's Mask. He looks at the artifact with a mix of relief and reverence, noting that the evil has left it. Before he vanishes into the morning mist, he leaves Link with a final, profound observation. Whenever there is a meeting, a parting is sure to follow. However, that parting need not last forever. These words serve as the ultimate closure for the hero of time. Link had spent the entire game running from the parting with Navi and the loss of his childhood in Hyrule. Through the tragedies of Termina, he has learned that the memories of those we lose are what give us the strength to continue. He has healed the world by healing himself. He has accepted that even though he is a hero whose name will never be known in this world, the deeds themselves are eternal. The closing credits of Majora's Mask show the happy endings that Link worked so hard to achieve. We see the wedding of Unju and Kafei, the reunion of the Zora Band, and the peace of the Deku Kingdom. However, there is a lingering sense of melancholy. Link is not present in these celebrations. He is already back on Epona, riding through the woods toward the horizon. He is still the hero of time, a traveler who exists between worlds. He has saved Termina, but he cannot stay there. He must return to the Lost Woods, perhaps to continue his search for Navi, or perhaps to simply find a new path now that he is no longer burdened by the regrets of the past. The final image of the game is a carving on a tree stump in the woods, showing Link, the Skull Kid, the fairies, and the giants, a testament to a friendship that transcended time and space. The legacy of Majora's Mask in the overall Zelda lore is that of the soul's journey. It is the most human story in the franchise, stripping away the destiny of the Triforce to focus on the individual struggles of people facing the end. It proved that Link's courage was not just a gift from the goddesses, but a choice he made every time he chose to help a stranger in a doomed world. The mask of the hero is not something Link wears. It is who he is. As he disappears into the fog of the woods, he leaves behind a world that is whole again, a world that will wake up to a tomorrow it never thought it would see. The bells of Clock Town ring out, not to mark the countdown to the end, but to celebrate the beginning of a future that was bought with the courage of a boy who refused to let the moon fall. Part 10 concludes the saga of the hero of time's darkest adventure. We have traveled from the poisonous swamps to the frozen peaks, across the warming oceans, and through the valley of the dead. We have witnessed the birth of a god and the death of a demon. The ocarina of time is silent now, its melodies having woven a new thread into the tapestry of the stars. The story of Termina is a reminder that even in the face of absolute darkness, there is a song that can heal the soul and a mask that can hide the pain until the light returns. The hero rides on, a silent guardian of the timelines, his spirit forever etched into the carvings of the ancient trees. The legend of the star-crossed lovers, Unju and Kafei, is widely considered the emotional backbone of Termina's lore, representing the most complex and human narrative ever woven into the history of the hero of time. While the four temples deal with the elemental decay of the world, this story deals with the decay of hope and the resilience of the human heart in the face of inevitable destruction. To understand the depth of this tragedy, one must look at the culture of Clock Town, where the Carnival of Time is not just a party, but a sacred ritual of union. In Termina, the tradition of marriage is tied to the crafting of masks. The groom carves the sun mask and the bride carves the moon mask. On the day of the carnival, they exchange these masks to form the couple's mask, symbolizing a vow that transcends the individual. This is the bond that the Skull Kid chose to shatter, making it the most personal act of malice in his entire campaign of chaos. Cafe, the son of Mayor Dadaur and Madame Aroma, was a young man on the cusp of his wedding when he was intercepted by the Skull Kid. Using the dark magic of Majora's mask, the imp transformed Cafe back into a small child, a cruel irony for a man about to enter adulthood. But the tragedy did not end there. While Cafe was reeling from his transformation, a greedy thief named Sakan ambushed him and stole his sun mask. In the culture of the Gerudo and Hylian-adjacent peoples of Termina, losing one's wedding mask is a source of unspeakable shame. Cafe, unable to face his fiancée Unju as a child and without his vow mask, went into hiding. He moved into the laundry pool area of Clock Town, wearing a Keaton mask to hide his face, watching his family and his bride suffer from the shadows. He became a ghost in his own city, a man trapped in a boy's body, much like Link himself. Unju, the innkeeper of the Stockpot Inn, is the counterpart to this silence. She represents the agony of the left behind. When Link first encounters her on the first day, she is a nervous, polite woman whose grandmother is slipping into dementia and whose mother is urging her to flee the town before the moon falls. Unju is haunted by a letter she received from Cafe, which promised he would return. But as the hours tick away and the moon grows larger, her faith begins to waver. The lore of this quest is unique because it requires Link to act not as a warrior, but as a messenger of fate. He must intercept letters, navigate the secret back alley door of the Curiosity Shop, and ultimately prove to Unju that Cafe is still alive. By giving Unju the moon tear or the pendant Cafe entrusted to him, Link bridges the gap between two souls who have been separated by a cosmic curse. The climax of the first half of this lore occurs on the night of the second day. If Link has successfully navigated the web of secrets, Unju decides to stay in Clock Town. This is a monumental decision. While the rest of the world is screaming in panic and the soldiers are deserting their posts, Unju sits in her room, waiting for a man who might never come. This is the bargaining stage of grief made manifest. She chooses the possibility of death in the arms of her beloved over the certainty of life in exile. Link, meanwhile, must follow the trail to Akana Canyon, where Cafe has tracked Sakan the thief. This is the only point in the game where Link and a non-player character work in perfect synchronization. Inside Sakan's hideout, the two of them must bypass a series of high-speed traps to reclaim the sun mask before it is lost forever down a conveyor belt. The lore of the sun mask is deeply tied to the ancient sun-worshipping roots of the Akana people. It is a relic of light in a valley of death. When Cafe finally reclaims it, he does not transform back into an adult. The magic of Majora is too strong for that. But he regains his dignity. He begins the long, frantic run from the canyon back to Clock Town as the final hours of the third day begin to scream. The screen shakes, the music becomes a frantic, discordant pulse, and the moon's fire begins to singe the rooftops. Most players feel a sense of intense urgency here, not to save the world, but to see if these two people can simply say goodbye. In the final hour, the final 6 hours, Link must return to the Stockpot Inn. There, in the top-floor room, he finds Unju waiting. She has donned her wedding dress, a stark white contrast to the sickly green and purple glow of the approaching moon. Cafe bursts into the room with only minutes to spare. In a moment of quiet that defies the apocalypse raging outside, they exchange their masks. They combine them to create the couple's mask, a symbol of a love that the moon cannot crush. They turn to Link and thank him, giving him a copy of the mask as a token of their eternal gratitude. Their final words are a request for Link to take shelter, while they stay to greet the morning together. They are the only people in Termina who meet the end with a smile, because they are no longer alone. This story is the ultimate proof of the healing power of the hero of time. Link didn't use a sword to solve Unju and Cafe's problem. He used empathy and persistence. He allowed two people to find closure in a world that was being denied a future. However, the tragedy of the 72-hour cycle hits hardest here. When Link plays the Song of Time to return to the first day, the sun mask is back in Sakan's hands, Cafe is back in the laundry pool, and Unju is back at the counter of the inn, her heart breaking all over again. Link carries the couple's mask in his inventory, a cold, wooden weight that serves as a reminder that he is the only one who remembers their wedding. He has the power to save their lives, but to do so, he must eventually break the cycle and defeat Majora, or else they are doomed to repeat their 3 days of agony forever. The couple's mask itself holds a unique place in the lore. When Link wears it and speaks to Mayor Dothour, the mask's aura of peace is so strong that it causes the mayor to end the bitter argument between the town guards and the carnival organizers. The mask represents resolution. It reminds the people of Termina that there are things more important than fear and bureaucracy. It is a physical manifestation of the idea that a new day is only worth having if you have someone to share it with. This side story elevates the lore of Majora's Mask from a simple adventure into a philosophical inquiry into the value of time. For Anju and Kafei, an hour of being together was worth more than an eternity of being apart. As Part 7 concludes, we see that Link has become more than a savior. He has become a keeper of secrets. He knows the private shames and the secret loves of everyone in Clock Town. He has seen the town at its best and its worst. The story of the lovers is a reminder that even under the shadow of a monster, humanity will still reach for the light. With the couple's mask tucked away, Link looks back at the inn one last time before turning toward the Romani Ranch, where a different kind of shadow, one that comes from the stars, is about to descend on two sisters who have no idea that the moon is the least of their problems. The lore of Romani Ranch represents a departure from the ancient, earthbound tragedies of the temples, introducing a theme of cosmic horror and the loss of childhood innocence. Situated in the idyllic, rolling hills of southwest Termina, the ranch is a sanctuary of tradition and hard work, far removed from the political bickering of Clock Town. It is run by two sisters, Cremia, the elder sister who has shouldered the burden of the family business after their father's death, and Romani, a spirited young girl who still views the world through the lens of adventure. However, this peace is a fragile illusion. The ranch is under siege by a threat that the people of Termina are fundamentally unequipped to understand, a recurring visitation by extraterrestrial entities known simply as them. This chapter explores the concept of gaslighting and believability. Romani is the only one who has seen the entities, which appear as glowing, ghost-like figures descending from the sky in a ball of light on the eve of the carnival. She tries to warn her sister and the townspeople, but she is dismissed as a child with an overactive imagination. Cremia, overwhelmed by the logistics of running the ranch and the pressure from the corrupt Gorman brothers, does not have the emotional bandwidth to entertain ghost stories. When Link arrives on the first day, he finds Romani practicing her archery on a series of balloon targets, preparing for a war that only she believes is coming. The lore here mirrors Link's own struggle. Both are children who possess a terrifying truth that the adult world refuses to acknowledge. The invasion itself, occurring at 2 a.m. on the night of the first day, is one of the most tense and eerie sequences in the game's history. The entities, which resemble the Flatwoods monster of real-world folklore, do not attack with physical violence. They move with a slow, deliberate persistence toward the cattle barn. They represent an alien malice, a force that exists outside the spiritual hierarchy of the four giants or the Majora's Mask itself. Link must defend the barn until the first light of dawn, using his bow to keep the ghosts at bay. If he succeeds, Romani is hailed as a hero in her own mind, and the ranch's livelihood is preserved. He is rewarded with Romani's milk, a substance that provides magical stamina, and more importantly, he earns the trust of a girl who finally found someone to believe her. However, the failure state of this quest is one of the most haunting pieces of lore in the series. If Link fails to protect the barn, the entities abduct both the cows and Romani herself. On the second day, Romani is returned to the ranch, but she is no longer the same person. She sits on the ground, clutching her head, her memory fractured and her spirit seemingly hollowed out. She has been lobotomized by her experience, rendered into a catatonic state that serves as a grim warning of what happens when the innocent are left to face the darkness alone. This outcome is a permanent scar on the 72-hour cycle. Even if Link saves the rest of the world, a version of Romani is left broken in the field. This reinforces the theme that in Termina, the stakes are not just global, but deeply and painfully personal. The secondary thread of the ranch involves Cremia and her struggle against the Gorman brothers, rival ranchers who have abandoned their honor to serve their own greed. On the night of the second day, Link accompanies Cremia as she delivers a shipment of milk to Clocktown. The journey is ambushed by the brothers, who wear masks to hide their identities. This conflict highlights the social decay of Termina. As the moon approaches, the survival of the fittest mentality takes over, and neighbors begin to prey on neighbors. By defending the wagon, Link helps Cremia fulfill her father's legacy. In gratitude, she gives him the Romani mask, a symbol of belonging that grants him access to the exclusive latte milk bar in town. This mask is a badge of adulthood, a sign that Link has been accepted into the inner circle of the ranch's family. The relationship between the sisters is further deepened by a heartbreaking dialogue that occurs on the third day. If the cows were saved, Cremia realizes that the moon is actually going to hit. In an act of tragic mercy, she allows Romani to drink the Chateau Romani milk, a vintage usually reserved only for adults. She tells Romani that she is a big girl now and invites her to sleep in her bed that night. Cremia is choosing to numb her sister's senses so that she won't feel the pain of the world ending. This is the protective lie, a theme that recurs throughout the game. Sometimes, the only heroic thing one can do is provide a moment of comfort before the inevitable. The them entities themselves remain a mystery in the lore. Unlike the ghosts of Ikana or the monsters of the temples, they are never explained. They are a reminder that the universe of Zelda is vast and contains horrors that even the hero of time cannot fully categorize. They represent the fear of abduction, the loss of agency, and the vulnerability of the rural world to the unknown. By protecting the ranch, Link isn't just saving cows. He is preserving a pocket of sanity and family in a world that is losing both. The ranch becomes a beacon of light in the southwestern fields, a place where the tradition of the Milk Road continues to flow despite the shadow in the sky. As Part 8 concludes, the ranch is silent once more. The glowing lights have retreated into the stars, and the sisters are safe for one more cycle. Link has earned his place as a protector of the fields, but his notebook is still full of names. He looks toward the horizon, toward the Clocktown streets where the Bomber's secret society is waiting. He realizes that to truly save the sisters and their ranch, he cannot just fight ghosts in the night. He must find the source of the madness that pulled the moon from its orbit. The hero of time mounts Epona and rides back toward the center of the world, the taste of Romani's milk still fresh, a reminder of the simple, honest life he is fighting to return to. The social architecture of Clocktown is anchored by the Bomber's secret society of justice, a group of 5 young boys who act as the self-appointed guardians of the city's spirit. In a world where the adults are increasingly paralyzed by the impending apocalypse, the Bombers represent the resilience of childhood altruism. They operate out of a hidden base in the east section of town, guarding the passage to the Astral Observatory with a secret numerical password. Their mission is simple: to do good deeds for the citizens of Termina. The lore of the Bombers is a direct reflection of Link's own nature. They are children trying to fix a broken world through small, localized acts of kindness. By earning their trust, Link is granted the Bomber's Notebook, a ledger that tracks the schedules, problems, and heartaches of 20 different individuals within the 72-hour cycle. This notebook is the most significant lore tool in the game, transforming the narrative from a linear quest into a complex web of simultaneous histories. The lore of the townspeople is built on the concept of the routine. In the face of absolute doom, the citizens of Clocktown do not descend into total anarchy. Instead, they cling to their professional identities. The postmaster, for example, is a man whose entire existence is defined by his schedule. Even as the moon's heat begins to singe the grass, he continues to deliver mail at the exact second his itinerary demands. He represents the bureaucracy of the soul, a man so terrified of the end that he uses the structure of his job as a shield against the reality of death. It is only when Link delivers a priority mail letter to him that the postmaster finds the psychological permission to flee, finally prioritizing his life over his duty. Another pillar of the town's lore is found in the mayor's office, where the political schism of Termina is on full display. Mayor Dadar sits at the center of a bitter dispute between the town guards, who want to evacuate the city immediately, and the carnival organizers, who insist that the festival must go on. This conflict explores the theme of denial versus reality. The Mudo, the construction leader, argues that the moon is not moving and that the panic is a superstitious delusion, while the guards see the physical evidence of the trembling earth. This stalemate is a microcosm of human society's inability to act in the face of a slow-moving catastrophe. By wearing the couple's mask, Link is able to silence the room and force them to see their shared humanity, effectively ending the argument and allowing the guards to finally look after their families. The lore of the Swordsman School provides a darker, more cynical look at the human condition. The swordsman is a boastful teacher who claims he will cut the moon into pieces if it dares to fall. He presents an image of hypermasculine confidence and bravery throughout the first and second days. However, if Link visits him in the final hour of the third day, he finds the back room of the dojo open. Inside, the heroic swordsman is curled into a fetal position, sobbing in terror and admitting that he doesn't want to die. This is a crucial piece of environmental storytelling. It strips away the mask of bravery to reveal the raw, honest vulnerability of a man who realized his limits too late. It serves as a stark contrast to Link, who feels the same fear but chooses to act despite it. Deep beneath the surface of the town's social life is the Curiosity Shop and its owner, a man who profits from the tragedies of others. The lore of the Curiosity Shop is tied to the shadow economy of Termina. This is where stolen items, like Kafei's sun mask or the elderly lady's bomb bag, eventually end up. The shopkeeper is a man who knows everything, but helps no one unless there is a profit involved. He represents the opportunism of the end. While others are praying for the giants, he is waiting to see what treasures he can scavenge from the ruins. Yet, even he shows a flicker of humanity by giving Link the Keaton mask and the priority mail, suggesting that in Termina, no one is purely a villain. They are all just survivors trying to find a way through the dark. The Astral Observatory, located just outside the town walls, provides the cosmic perspective for the bomber's lore. It is run by a lonely astronomer who spends his life staring at the stars. It is through his telescope that Link first sees the tear falling from the moon's tear. This celestial jewel is more than just a trade item. It is a physical manifestation of the moon's own sorrow. The lore implies that the moon is not a willing participant in the destruction. It is being pulled against its will by Majora's mask. The astronomer is the only one who looks at the big picture, yet he is powerless to change it. He provides the data, but he needs a hero to provide the action. The Gorman Troupe, a group of struggling performers staying at the inn, adds a layer of artistic tragedy to the lore. Their leader, Gorman, is a bitter man whose brothers run the corrupt ranch. He is a failed entertainer who has lost his passion, drowning his sorrows in milk. By playing the Ballad of the Wind Fish for him, a song from another world and another dream, Link reignites the fire in Gorman's soul. This highlights the theme of artistic redemption. In a world that is ending, music and performance are seen by some as trivial, but for the troupe, they are the only things that give life meaning. By helping them, Link earns the circus leader's mask, a symbol of the emotional weight of being a performer in a dying world. As Part 9 concludes, Link's notebook is nearly full. He has touched the lives of the postman, the mayor, the dancer, and the thief. He has seen the town's cowardice and its courage. He has learned that the legend is not just about the boy with the sword, but about the collective stories of the people he protects. Every mark in the notebook is a promise that their lives mattered, even if they are about to be erased. With the social fabric of Clocktown mended as much as it can be, Link looks up at the clock tower. The final midnight is approaching. It is time to stop being a courier and a mediator, and to become the hero of time once more. The final confrontation with Majora is the only thing left to write in the book. The final chapter of the Majora's Mask saga is not merely the end of a battle, but a deep, metaphysical descent into the nature of divinity, identity, and the true face of the hero. Part 10 centers on the ultimate mystery of the happy mask salesman and the terrifying arrival of the fierce deity. When Link finally steps into the surreal, peaceful meadow inside the moon, he is no longer in the physical world of Termina. He is in a psychological space where the mask's own childhood trauma and godlike ego collide. The 5 children running around the lone tree represent the bosses of the world, but the 5th child, sitting alone, wearing Majora's mask, is the host of the mask's true essence. He is a lonely child who views the apocalypse as a game of tag, and he invites Link to take the final role in this game, the role of the good boy or the true hero. If Link has collected all the masks from the people of Termina, he has essentially gathered the collective hope and sorrow of an entire civilization. The child under the tree takes these masks and, in a gesture of dark generosity, hands Link the fierce deity mask. The lore surrounding this mask is the most enigmatic in the series. It is a transformation mask that turns Link into a towering, silver-haired god with blank eyes and a double helix blade. The happy mask salesman suggests that this mask contains the spirit of someone stronger than a hero. Some theorists believe the fierce deity is the combined spirit of the 4 giants, while others suspect it is the dark side of Link's own soul, the part of him that was hardened by the wars of Hyrule and the tragedies of Termina, to where it is to lose one's humanity to become a vessel of pure, divine wrath. The battle against Majora represents the 3 stages of a dying ego. First, as Majora's mask, the entity fights with the frantic energy of a cornered animal. Second, as Majora's incarnation, it mocks the concept of battle by dancing, skipping, and giggling, a disturbing display of a monster that has forgotten how to be serious. Finally, as Majora's wrath, the mask transforms into a muscular demon with whips for arms, lashing out at the world that refused to be destroyed. If Link uses the fierce deity mask, the battle is a slaughter. The good boy, Link, becomes more terrifying than the bad boy, Majora, cutting through the demon's magic with cold, celestial efficiency. This reflects a grim piece of lore. Sometimes, to defeat a monster, one must become a god that is even more frightening. Once the demon is extinguished, the happy mask salesman reappears to reclaim the mask, which is now a hollow, wooden shell. The salesman is one of the few characters who bridges the gap between Hyrule and Termina. He is often theorized to be a world walker, a demigod of memory who collects masks to ensure that the tragedies of the past are never truly forgotten. He looks at the now empty Majora's mask and notes that the evil has left it. His departure into the mist, alongside his cryptic words about partings and meetings, marks the end of Link's time in the mirror world. The salesman is the keeper of the eternal return, the one who knows that as long as there is life, there will be masks, and as long as there are masks, there will be heroes to wear them. The final moments of the lore see the 4 giants returning to the cardinal directions. Their relationship with the Skull Kid is finally mended. The giants reveal that they never abandoned him out of malice, but out of duty. The Skull Kid's sin was his inability to accept that his friends had grown up and changed. This is the central lesson of the Majora's Mask lore: acceptance. You must accept that people leave, that time moves on, and that the moon of your own mortality is always drawing closer. The Skull Kid, now free from the mask's parasitic influence, finally finds peace, and he notes that Link smells like that fairy kid who taught me a song in the woods. This connects the game back to the Lost Woods lore of Ocarina of Time, completing the circle of the hero of Time's journey. As the sun rises on the new day, the credits reveal the good endings for everyone Link helped. Anju and Kafei are married. The Zora band plays their music. The Goron child sleeps peacefully. But Link is nowhere to be seen in these festivities. He has already departed on Epona, returning to the shadows of the woods. This is the tragic core of the hero of Time's legacy. He is a man who saves the world and then must disappear from it. He is a hero whose greatest deeds are done in a world that literally does not exist once the 72-hour cycle is broken. He returns to the forest to continue his search for Navi, but he does so with a heart that has been healed by the music of Termina. He is no longer a boy looking for a lost friend. He is a veteran of the soul who knows that the truth is not found in the face you show the world, but in the courage you hold when the sky is falling. The final image of the game, a carving on a tree stump, serves as the permanent record of the adventure. It shows Link, the Skull Kid, and the fairies together. This carving is the only physical evidence that Termina ever existed. It is the legend in its purest form. The lore of Majora's Mask teaches us that while time can erase cities and empires, it cannot erase the song of healing that exists between friends. Link may have lost his name in the history books of Hyrule, but in the heart of the woods, his spirit remains as the one who looked at the moon and didn't blink. The mask is gone, the giants are asleep, and the hero of time rides into the dawn of a future he finally earned. This conclusion brings our deep dive into the harrowing, beautiful lore of Majora's Mask to a close. We have explored the grief of the Zora, the legacy of the Gorons, the war of the Icanians, and the cosmic horror of the ranch. The saga of the masks is a testament to the idea that every person we meet is fighting a battle we know nothing about, and that sometimes a simple melody is enough to save their world.